What's good? What's good, fam? Um, Welcome to another rendition of Frontline News, where we bring you news and conversations from the front lines of urban America and beyond. And we have a great special guest tonight, just somebody that really touched my spirit, touched my inner soul this evening on Instagram. And we're gonna bring him on, and we're gonna chop this up and have a little conversation, um, about what's going on in our community here in Baltimore City. Before we get started, real quick, I wanted to go ahead and make sure we pay um, the bills real quick. So, family, you know that each and every week, Frontline News is being brought to you by, of course, Black News USA. Got to thank the whole, Black USA News. Um, Got to thank the whole Donnie Glover team and the whole Black Wall Street and Be More News and just the whole Donnie Glover team for allowing us to be able to have this platform to just come and have these pertinent conversations about what's going on in our community. And of course, Frontline News is being brought to you by people empowered by the struggle. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that tries to meet people where their struggles are and help them to navigate through whatever their struggles in life may be. Whether you're dealing with domestic violence, whether you're dealing with homelessness, whether you're dealing with prevention of homelessness, whether you're dealing with mentoring of your children, whatever your issues may be, we literally have helped easily thousands of families to navigate through their struggles. And we ask that you trust whatever your issues may be that you're trying to navigate through in this city, knowing how the system is, knowing how everything is kind of designed and built in many ways not to help and support our community. But we know how to navigate through a lot of these particular different agencies and organizations, and in many cases find you the resources that is necessary. So we ask that you give us an opportunity to be able to help you, help your family, help your loved ones. You can give us a call at 443 31 I'm sorry 443 355 8014. Again, the number is 443 355 8014. And I'm trying to move fast because I want to get to our guests and I want to bring our panel up and start the conversation, start the topic off. Without further ado, let me bring up our co-host. You know her as a former mayoral candidate for Baltimore City. She should be your mayor right now. She is known as the Peopletician. Yolanda Pulley, welcome to Frontline News.
Love and respect to all. The one thing I do know is that if we do nothing in life, our only job on this earth is to be servants, whether it's to the public, your family, your parents, your children. We were born servants. So we need to get back to servitude. I think that our elected officials forgot about the word of servitude. And I'll wait for us to get in the show because, I'm feeling a certain kind of way today. Before we get started, Jason, after you introduce everybody, I'm going to pray for Tyree Coleon and his family.
All right. Let me bring up my next co-host. Someone that I've really learned to love and respect, a lyricist, just in his spirit, like wrote something earlier today. I had an opportunity to listen to. Maybe hopefully he'll recite some of it today. It was just so profound and so prolific. And I'm hoping that he'll share it with us. And it's in reference to kind of what's going on in reference to Tyree. But without further ado, everyone, let's give it up for Deron Hill. For extraordinary rapper,
That's
Deron
crazy.
Hill.
That's crazy. I get the. You know what? I'm gonna skip like 2 weeks so I can get my proper introduction.
What was wrong with that introduction?
It didn't feel as exciting.
Oh God, where are you at? Why are you not showing?
Right, where's your purple face tonight?
Oh, it's my camera's a little
messed up.
Yeah.
All right. So, family, as I stated earlier, we have a guest this evening. Someone from our community, someone very profound, very spiritually connected. I even feel in some cases like the spiritual connection to the ancestors with this brother here. He was on earlier, just really kind of just talking to the community in reference to what took place with Tyree Coleon. In case some of y'all don't know, Tyree is in Baltimore known for the no shoot zones. And he's painted the no shoot zones, not even just in Baltimore City, because he actually had painted some in the county as well. Matter of fact, he had got locked up one time painting one on a business in the county. So he spread his love and his message in reference to no shoot zone from the county to Baltimore City. And just yesterday, we lost our dear brother. And we're going to get into the discussion. We ain't going to get into the speculating or all that stuff. We're just going to get deep into this conversation with our dear brother. So without further ado, I want y'all to give a warm welcome to our dear brother, Sean Price. Sean Price, are you there with me, my brother?
Yeah, I'm here, man. Appreciate it. It's an absolute pleasure to be joining y'all right now.
Pleasure is all ours. We had an opportunity to stumble into your Instagram earlier today, and you were just really kind of giving some tough love, some spiritual love to the community in reference to the whole incident with Tyree and stuff. And I wanted you just go ahead and just expound in your own words, exactly your thoughts on all of this.
I got mixed emotions about it. But if I had to start from anywhere, it would be a place of accountability. We all watched his lives. We all participated at times, and we saw the path that he was going toward. And for whatever reason, we didn't do enough to become, positive influences in his life. I think we got this culture here in Baltimore where when people get on Instagram Live, or we call them like Instagram famous, we follow people and we participate for entertainment. And no matter how dark we see that path be coming, for whatever reason, we stand idly by and see how far it's going to go. This is one of those situations that kind of struck a chord with me because I saw it manifesting and I said nothing. Well, I didn't say enough. I didn't do enough. And to see the outcome into what it was is it was surreal for me. Right. Because it's one of them things where you see it coming and you know the probability of what could happen, but to see it coming to fruition is just like it's a whole different reality. And that really kind of led me to a place of analyzing myself, analyzing my community, and analyzing us as a city, and kind of evaluating, not only where we are as people, but where are we spiritually? Because a lot
it's
of
crazy that you said that about your Facebook post, because listen to this. This is what I wrote at 4:00 this morning. I said we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. We sat back and watched Tyree damn near every day battle with mental health stress. We watched when he got stabbed, shot, and currently murdered. We watched and never helped his wife help him. We watched him pray. We scrutinized the trauma of him and the police, and we watched his activism for those who lost their lives in the streets of Baltimore, and how he helped keep the memories alive with cans of paint by spray painting no shoot zone. Tyree was telling us it's not okay for his people to be shot, and he asked us stop killing and saying that by saying this individual's final place of where they stood, and don't shoot here again. It's bothering me at 4 a.m. that I am up writing this. Where no shoot zone was born, it also died. It's not okay with the way he was assassinated. This goes to indicate to you that we don't boast of the same privilege of life. And I hate to make this about race, however it is. We watch mental illness in white people with shotguns being gently handled after they shot up schools, congregation, family members, movie theaters, and their lives were preserved. We watched us die by those same identical hands. No one said what he did was right, but he deserved to live and have his day in the two-sided corrupt system of just us against justice. He was presumed to have a knife, but was slain by a gun and shot at least 14 times. In the criminal justice system for a civilian, it would have been considered a crime of passion. I pray for his father, Mr. Moorhead, his wife, Miss Moorhead, his children, family, and friends. May heaven heal where earth cannot.
Powerful. That's powerful.
You sat up there and said the same thing on your live today.
You embodied everything that I was feeling, everything that I've already said.
Exactly.
God don't make no mistakes. God put certain people in the right place at the right time for a purpose. And it's not coincidence that, here we are, three like-minded people with the same sentiments in the same space at the same time.
You're absolutely correct. And one thing that I do know is that God don't make mistakes
at all.
He also a God that let us make our own decisions. He's a God of free will.
Mm-hmm.
So when we I posted that early on Facebook, and this young lady jumped on here and talk about y'all condoning what he did. It doesn't matter what he did. He didn't deserve to die for what he did. So that we can't. And just like you said on your live, it's not okay for us to get pleasure out of this man's death because of how y'all felt about him. At the end of the day, that was God's child's first. And then he had family and children and a wife and a father. That just doesn't sit easy with me. Knowing that this man talked about his own death. He was on live and he said that the police was going to kill him on Monday. He died on Sunday. That speaks volumes to me. A lot of people say what they want to say about him and his characteristics. But he gave these people a living memory by saying no shoot zone.
Yeah, there was somebody earlier that I heard actually was giving praises to Tyree because at the time that they lost their loved one, the only one that really came to kind of acknowledge that there was a life there, that there was a life that was took there, was Tyree. And she really appreciated that. I heard her earlier speaking out about it. She really appreciated, the fact that there was somebody that was trying to bring awareness to their loved one, and that their loved one wasn't just a number on a murder docket. That they weren't part of just a 300. They were part of a village. They were part of a community. They were part of a family.
We became so normalized by putting people in front of a T-shirt that we got away from, just like you said earlier, compassion. It can't be normal for me. It's not a normal thing for me to walk around with rest in peace on a T-shirt. It's not normal for me to been to as many funerals that I've been to. That's not normal. It's not normal for me to have written as many poems and obituary that I have written. Because 9 times out of 10, when you see obituary going around in Baltimore City, the poem in there I wrote. And I just give it to families. That's not normal to me.
It says, the irony is? The irony is that it's absolutely normal. A lot of things that, a regular person would consider traumatic and just horrible. In Baltimore City, we've come to normalize it.
Yeah.
And so to keep hearing you say is not normal, is not normal, is not normal. And knowing, because we see it so often and because we live it every single day, that it is absolutely normal.
Right.
That's not, when you say that, you're not speaking to the reality. You're more so speaking to who you are as a person. Because people like us, we know that this behavior, we know that this reality is absolutely not normal.
Right.
But when it comes to the culture in Baltimore City, it is normal.
And to the culture and to the culture of many urban cities, because again,
Facts.
What we really try to talk about here is all our urban communities collectively, because we all share the same pain. We all share the same trauma. We all share some of the same similar dynamics in every city that we go to. And you're right. put it like this: society has normalized it for us because in many
Yes.
cases we still have not spiritually accepted this normacy, this normal circumstance. But when you
Mm-hmm.
have society drilling it at you, and the saying is, if it bleeds, it leads in the news. You know what I mean? So we hear it bombarding us all day long. You know, the homicides, the trauma, the violence. Fox 45, we were talking about this yesterday because there's this white killer, female wrestler. They have our story on right now on Netflix, right?
Bodybuilder.
Bodybuilder, right? And
Killer
what we
Oh,
were
Sally.
talking about, what we were
I
talking
saw that.
about was what we were talking about was how the news will take certain things and will sensationalize it or will
Mm-hmm.
grasp on to a title of something. You know, instead of her lifting steel, she's now spitting out steel. You know,
Mm-hmm.
saying that she's now a killer instead of lifting steel. You know, or instead of lifting bars, she's shooting iron. You know what I mean? And like sensationalizing things, and
Mm-hmm.
because we see this bombardment over and over and over again, it becomes normal to us.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes accepted to us. So instead of us necessarily rebuting what's going on in our community, it becomes there's like a malaise there. You know what I mean? It's all foggy and all hazy to us.
Yes.
And I even say that in some cases it's because of that mentality that the reason why law enforcement acts the way that they do to us. See, because what I mean is if all we see is violence in the city and all that's being perpetuated, that there's nothing good out of Nazareth, right? I want you to
Mm-hmm.
hear that nothing is good can come out of Nazareth. Then the people that are serving Nazareth, like the soldiers, like the guards,
Mm-hmm.
like the police, are going to come in with that same mentality. So they have no value for us because all they read is there's no value in Nazareth. There's no value in this city. They don't
Mm-hmm.
see the good in this city. They don't see the accomplishments. They don't see the struggles that end up with success or end up with someone in a better shape or a better life. Their child going to college, breaking the cycle, being the first one to go to college in their family. You know
It's
what I
mighty
mean?
funny that you said that, Jason, because we throw parties for people coming home from jail, but we don't
Yeah.
throw parties for people going in for we don't throw parties people parties for going in for college. We
Mm.
we throw we give
Celebrate.
praise. Yeah, we give praise and we celebrate those coming home for jail like it was a great accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
That became our norm. We go to more funerals than we do weddings.
Yeah. It's
I done met
interesting. It's
people that's your
interesting.
age and younger who have
Yeah.
never been to a wedding. That's scary to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's interesting you say that because I used to work at the casino, right? And what's interesting, I told Yolanda this. I said, you could always tell, because I worked in the county casino. I said, you could
Yeah.
always tell when it's somebody from Baltimore City that's in the casino because they were wearing memorial t-shirts. They
Mm.
were wearing memorial t-shirts. They were actually still, and you could tell they were fresh. So they were still in the grieving. They were still in the mourning. And they were still wearing that t-shirt. That's trauma.
Yeah.
That's trauma. You know,
Lemon Duran,
Yeah, man.
you ain't said nothing since we've been on. What are your thoughts?
Huh?
I said you haven't said anything. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I was talking.
I know, but what are your thoughts?
This whole narrative that, because what I've been saying is people saying that, oh well, he deserved it. And I don't think that the conversation should be whether a person deserved it or not. They shot him 13 times while he was on the ground. Like, I don't think nobody deserves that. Especially
Mhm.
considering the fact when we look at our counterparts as far as, skin color counterparts, we look at those people and we look at the serial killers who was taken into custody compared to the unarmed black men that was murdered. Like, this is not justice. This is murder. You You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't,
That was an
just because you
assassination.
don't agree with everything that he said on his lives, because when we watched his lives, we didn't watch his lives for his message. You watch for his antics.
Right.
And you
And I
watched.
think in some cases people watch because, like a train wreck, they were waiting for the two trains
Yeah,
to
yeah.
eventually
Absolutely.
People
collide.
are waiting
Right.
for you to crash and burn.
Right. That's what everybody's waiting for in reference to Kanye. And even with Kyrie, a
Yeah,
lot of folks are looking at, they're waiting for the Hindenburg to blow up and to catch on fire. Like,
yeah,
But
because
how do
we
that
we
boy, that rapper
celebrate,
boy,
we laugh at people, we laugh at
came?
people's struggles, and we laugh at what they're dealing with. And I think that the only reason why we laugh at these things is to negate the fact that we have things that we're dealing with as well.
Mm-hmm.
Deron, can you say a part of your song that you wrote?
No, why you keep trying to make me do this?
Because I want to hear it.
I'm making you want to. Well, again, from what I heard earlier,
You
like
keep
Mr.
trying
again,
to
Sean
make,
Price needs to
I
hear it.
wanted to be, because when I put it out, I wanted to be fresh, and you keep trying to make me perform the song.
I think what they're trying to, I think the greater point they're trying to get across is you got a profound message.
that's
I
right.
do, and but when I put out this message, I really want people to hear it, like
Mm-hmm.
really listen to it. So I can't just be out here willy nilly,
Willy
just
nilly.
throwing it around. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's some play verse,
Right.
not a play
Right.
verse.
Right. Right.
I understand that
Right.
100%. That's kind of the reason why I don't go live, but so often, because when I go live and it's my voice projecting, I want people to not only
Man.
hear what I'm saying, but I want them to connect with the emotion behind the words of my voice. And so I understand that completely. In fact, I want to just double back on something that Yolanda said, and she spoke on it being like, and a lot of people spoke on it, 13 shots being overkill. The way I see
14 shots, because there was
14
13,
shots.
then there was a pause, and then there was a shot off, which
Listen,
made it to
something is going
14.
on. I don't know if y'all can hear me, but something is going on. Can you? I'm gonna leave. Can you add me right back in?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
can't hear
Yeah,
anything.
that's fine.
Okay, so the thing is that it was the pause and then the 14th shot that he was shot in the heat.
Right.
It was that
Mhm.
one for me. That's why I said it was an overkill. It was 13 consecutive shots. And then it was this silence. And that was like, and something was like, wait for it. And then it was like, boom. I said, wow. And then that's what the girl was like, they just shot him in the head.
So
That's
for
why I
me,
said it was, huh?
no, and so for me, I'm just,
Oh,
I think I got a altogether different perspective because, like I said earlier, one one shot is fatal. One shot can be fatal. We learned
Especially
that in
when
the
you're
case.
trained. Especially
Yeah,
when you're trained.
absolutely. And so any shot past that first shot really doesn't concern me because anybody that's ever handled a firearm know the power behind when you pull that trigger. And anytime you anytime you brandish a firearm, let alone let off a shot, you have the intent to kill. And so whether it's one shot or 13 shots, the intent was to kill. And so I try not to sensationalize, well, how many times he was shot or where he was shot, because the initial shot of pulling the trigger lets us know that it was intended to kill him. So if we focus on that aspect of it, it's gonna open up the door for a conversation to be had about the logistics of how he died as opposed to why he died and what led up to his demise. How
Yeah,
can
I
we
get it.
watch a person? How can we watch a person who had so much energy, invested so much of himself, his time, his resources into doing something that was presumably positive for the city, and to end up being slain as a victim of the exact same work that he was working to stop, to commemorate, to celebrate?
in the area where he created it.
Yeah, and that's
Right.
the part, and
Right.
that's the part that we have to focus on, because it's like, if we don't, we got to stop writing these. We got to stop using these situations to keep recycling the same old message, and we have to figure out, what the hell do we do now? Like, how do we make this the last conversation that we have? Because policy isn't going to get it done. Police department isn't going to get it done. Politics aren't going to get it done. It's the relationship with people that's the real work to everything. And we got to figure out, how can we connect ourselves to each other to the point where, if I see one of my brothers or I see one of my sisters going through something, I got to be just as motivated to help them and to step in as I would be if it was my very own child. And until we get back to that place of feeling like everybody matters and we matter to each other, it's going to be a repetitive cycle that we're going to keep repeating. And so, what do we have to do to connect to each other again? Because we
The
keep
same
talking
thing I
about,
did with you.
no, absolutely, absolutely, and it's like, it's like, for example, it's like a Tyree live, right? Tyree go live, and Tyree can say some of the most profound things. Like, really, he really would drop some gems, but the message would get lost because everybody's gravitating toward the negative stuff that he's saying. The
Or,
antics,
right. Or he's
and
smoking weed. He's rolling up weed, smoking weed. You know.
or how many flies is on a fly catcher in his room?
Correct. Correct.
Wow.
It's that kind.
But at the
It's that
same
kind of
time,
paying attention to the peripheral
Yeah.
that distracts us from what's being said. That's for the betterment of us as a community.
but I think that's because some of the messages that he put out. You get what I'm saying? Like, so, like, the things that made him the most popular, because attention is a hell of a drug.
Was the
So the things
controversial
that,
stuff.
huh?
The thing that got the most attention was the controversial stuff that he did and said.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's because a lot of the times that's what he put out there.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm
And
saying? Like,
me and this girl actually got into it on my post, because she said the same one that said we're condoning his behavior is the same one that said I knew him personally. He started that movement because he wanted popularity.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I came back and said, you knew him personally, but you did nothing.
Right. Right.
That's accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't sit up there and say the new ones are the ones that jumped on his live, when we got people that knew this man personally.
Yeah.
That sat there and did nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big part of it is, just trying to be decent people and respecting the dead. It's a very hard thing for me to hold the dead accountable, because who am I to hold the dead
Correct.
accountable
Correct.
when they're dead and gone and their judgment is coming?
Correct.
So I just can't. We all have the same eyes and ears. We saw and we heard the nonsense that Tyree promoted.
Right.
He paid the ultimate price for that with his life. So, are we supposed to kill him twice?
Right.
I just told this guy on my post. I said I said social lynching is real in our community.
Yeah.
I said we don't have a problem with trying to bring the dead back to life and lynching them again. We don't have a problem with that. Public lynching is real in the Black community. You don't see white people doing that.
Yeah, we seen that. We saw that with our dear sister Corinne Gaines.
Yeah.
You know how they tried to come in and to murder her twice. And even to the circumstance tried to murder the son in the process. Yep. And we as a community felt that we had the necessary right after her death to question what had happened, because we know too many times our lives are not valued when it comes to the blue, when it comes to officers. And I want to share something with y'all really quick. I want y'all to hold your thoughts for a second, but I want to share something from the Young Turks that I actually saw earlier today, and I want everybody to watch this little quick clip real quick. And it really kind of expounds on what I'm talking about. Tends to be the normacy when it comes to officers addressing us in our community. So I want everybody to watch this real quick.
Had a licensed weapon, and he was pulled over for a busted taillight. And he told officers,
Hold on, I'm gonna move it back a little bit.
Had a license guns to protect us from the bad guys from guns and to protect us from the government. Now, last night when Philando Castile had a licensed weapon and he was pulled over for a busted taillight, and he told officers, just like he's supposed to, a good hard carrying gun owner, said, "Officer, I have a licensed weapon here." Okay, great. Officer, of course, flipped out because he's black and said, "No, no, no, no. Okay, now," he said, "Go now, show me your ID." And he goes to show him his ID, and the cop shoots. Wait a minute, where's the NRA? They should be screaming from the rooftops today. Philando Castile should be their new hero. He should be their poster boy for how the jackbooted thugs of the government will shoot and kill people with perfectly legal right to carry arms. That he was exercising his Second Amendment rights. Instead, what have I heard from conservatives for the last 24 hours? Well, of course the cop shot him. He had a gun. And then I heard, oh, well, white people have a gun in similar situations. Well, of course they're going to be shot too.
Now watch this.
Now, I remember a lot of people on the Clive and Bundy ranch. I remember them pointing guns at cops. I don't remember them getting shot. Now, they were so brazen, so over the top, so used to threatening assault and murder of police officers and pointing guns at police officers. Eventually, in Oregon, one of the guys associated with the Bundy guys came out, was giving an enormous amount of time walking around with a gun in his pocket, a gun that he had threatened to murder cops with before, and finally was shot. One. The rest, all heavily armed, taken into custody, no problems, nobody shot. That guy was given all the time in the world. The Clive and Bundy people were given years. Amir Rice was given 2 seconds, and he was a 12-year-old boy, and he didn't have a gun on him. He had a toy gun, but they never bothered asking. So now we've seen over and over again. Alton Sterling, just a day ago. Well, he might have had a gun. Was it in his hand? No. Were there 3 cops on top of him? Yes. Was one cop pointing a gun right at his chest? Yes. But it's a black guy who might have a gun. Boom, 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 boom. Put him down. Put him down. 2 seconds flat. Another shooting in a Walmart in Ohio. That one, I think, took 6 seconds before he was killed. I think he was shot in 3 seconds and killed in 6 seconds. Now, I'm told, no. White people, if they got their hand on a gun, cops are going to put them down. Or what if they're walking around with rifles and the cops are in the vicinity? They're going to put them down right away. 2 seconds flat. Because there's no such thing as a difference between white and black people in America. Really? Well, let's take a look at this clip.
Okay. Any last you saw was Dairy Queen? Yes, I'm watching right now. Just down the street, directly into the Dairy Queen. I could have somebody block down Court Street from the east and the west, please. Hey, partner, how you doing? Can you set that down real quick and talk to me? Place the weapon down on the ground, please. Place the weapon down on the ground. Place the weapon down on the ground, please. Place the weapon down on the ground.
How many times was instructions given out?
I just want to talk to you. I just want to talk to you walking around here scaring people, man. I understand your rights, and I'm not trying to violate your rights. What's your name, bud?
Now I'm gonna pause this from here because if this had been one of us in our community, knife, bat, shoot, cell phone in our hand. How many times, like he said,
a cob of corn coming from a cookout?
I mean, how many times, like he said, we've been taken out in less than 3 seconds, 4 seconds? You know, and I even have a video. I'm not going to share it, but I even have a video of they had a gentleman running around with a knife in his hand, and the police were saying, "Please don't make me do this. Please don't make me do this.
And when he
Please don't
started
make me
chasing
do
the
this."
police with it,
Yeah, started chasing the police with it, and they still didn't put him down.
I
You know what I
saw
mean?
that video.
So there's a double standard when it comes to our community, and again, a lot of it is the narrative that's been unfortunately perpetuated again. And I have to throw the media in this. You know, I have to throw the media under the bus in reference to this, because it's really the media that really makes it seem like they demonize us. They make it seem like, you know, there is no good, like I said, that comes out of Nazareth. So when you have a white officer, and last night when I learned about this, I'm immediately communicating with Commissioner Harrison, and like I'm scolding him, because I already know the circumstance. I could guarantee you this, that I would put money on this, that the officer involved in this has less than 5 years on the streets of Baltimore. And I can guarantee you that that white officer is not even a resident from Baltimore City. Better yet, not even from Baltimore County, probably from some rural community in another state that has no clue and looks at every day when he comes in. You know, I used to say this all the time to a drill sergeant. I said, I bet you these white officers, when they come into Baltimore City, they're playing that Guns and Roses, Welcome to the Jungle, as they're coming into the city, because that's how they look at it. They look at it as the jungle, and we the animals that, you know, that can't get under control when they come in there. So, you know, and it's that mentality. And in many cases, there's even that fear in their households. I told folks about this today on the radio show. There's even that fear in their household because, you know, their loved ones kissed them. They want them to come home. They want to come back home to their loved one. So that means that everything that happens in these streets can be sacrificed. Because at the end of the day, I want to go home. So I care less about these Black lives in these communities. At the end of the day, I want to go home to my white family.
Yeah, because they the threat. They the enemy.
Correct.
It's a couple of things that showed you how we are disconnected from, like I keep saying, the just us system and the justice system. January the 6th showed you how they basically took over the White House. They stormed in. They was looking for people, doing all kinds of crazy mess, calling for people's demise and sending out threatening messages and who they gonna kill and who they looking for. Those people did not die, but this one lady got killed in the crossfire, who was a military person, and they said she didn't deserve to die. She stormed the White House. That's treason. That is a crime. Okay.
Yeah.
Chad, we can get you a meeting if you want. Chad, we can get you that meeting. I'll call and lean on it myself. if that's what you want to do.
Well, Yolanda, it's funny that you brung up January 6th because outside of breaking the law and, you know, that person losing their life, I was proud of that group, and I kind of envied them in the sense that they organized, they got together, they came up with a plan, and they executed it. Our biggest problem, and the reason why it's going to keep constantly being a stark difference between the way we get treated versus our counterparts, is our family dynamic and our community dynamic.
We don't stick together
at all. Yeah. I live in Pikesville in a Jewish community, and I watch my Jewish neighbors have their meetings or gatherings or whatever it is that they go to inside these synagogues. And the one thing I paid attention to is that at every exit is armed security guards. And that got my wheels spinning. So I started to think to myself, if that's a religious establishment, why would there be a need for armed security guards at every exit? What's happening inside of these buildings that would require there to be a presence of armed security guards? And I started to kind of have a conversation with myself. And I started to think about what kind of information or what kind of messaging is being sent within their community and within their families that we aren't being privy to. And and because we have broken families and because we have broken communities, we aren't able to do the same thing amongst ourselves. We aren't able to collaborate and get together and have discussions about things that we're dealing with, problems. How do we solve them? How do we address them? And what if these different cultures are doing that exact thing? Because they have a stronger sense of family. What if the conversation at the dinner table is, well, what do you need to do if you encounter a black person in order for you to get home to us? So why aren't we having the same conversations at our dinner tables?
No, our
Why aren't we?
conversations are is watch yourself with the police. Keep your hands where the police can see them. Make sure you talk to them with respect. Make sure that you don't do anything that may seem threatening to them. These are the conversations that we have
But
with
Sean,
our children.
I have a question for you.
Exactly.
What do
I'm
all
listening to this.
ethics what do all ethics group have that we don't have? What do they teach their children versus we don't teach ours?
You said oh what?
Huh? I said
You said that.
what do they teach their children that we don't teach ours?
Financial literacy?
That too, but the rite of passage. We
Oh,
never
true.
once, right? We never
Right.
once. They
Right.
had
You have bar mitzvahs, things like that are, the taking of a boy who has boy tendencies and raising them to a man and giving them that baton and establishing that he's on that journey or on that
I'm
pathway
gonna
of
tell you
becoming
what
a
the
man,
five rites of passage
or a girl becoming on the pathway of becoming a woman. We don't have these things anymore. We used to have rites of passage in our community, and there used to be things that when we were more tribal, we were more in a village
Yeah.
environment, that we used to do that would prepare us to be men, to be
Ex-
caretakers of our community, our brothers' keeper.
Exactly. That culture was taken from us and rebranded into a culture that they gave us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just and we just trying to and we just trying to make the most of the culture that they gave us, and we're basically building our identity off of a lost culture. So that's why when you ask a black person about, well, what's your culture? Oh, it's hip hop, it's black, it's this, it's that. No, that's not our culture.
No.
Those
No.
those are things that we were given to help provide an identity for us, because the true identity that we have was lost.
Right. Right. Right.
We don't have that sense of family, that sense of village, that sense of community. And
Right.
I'm it's been 400, 500 years. Why have we still yet to overcome what was taken from us?
because that's what they teach us. They don't teach us 400 years before slavery. They only taught us that they made us feel like,
Right.
well, y'all generation anyway, and the ones that's after y'all and maybe a little bit before y'all, but they're making it seem like we were born in slavery.
Absolutely.
Right. So they
And
didn't
when
tell
you
us
look
that.
when you look at the textbooks in our school, we're still teaching, unfortunately, Europeanism, colonization. We're not teaching, that we ruled nations, that we invented everything under the sun,
And that's
that
our
we were
fault.
responsible for culture. We were
Yeah.
responsible for religion, spirituality. You name it. Language. We were responsible for.
And that's our fault, because you know what, I'm big on accountability, because what I realize is this is, once I graduated from grade school, which I graduated from Gilman School, by the way. Once I left Gilman School, I no longer could hold that institution accountable for my
No.
learning,
No.
for
Now it's you. Right.
for my knowledge. Now
Right.
as a
Man,
conscious-minded, able-bodied grown man, it's my obligation to go back and to
man,
make sure that every single piece of information that I was given, that I've built the foundation of my life upon, is correct, is
man.
factual, and it makes sense. Because my oppressor's not going to give me information that's going to let me know who I really am or
Correct.
where I come from.
Correct. But when
The
Yeah.
you look at
onus
the blueprint
the
of
onus is
them,
on
though,
me.
right? When you look at the blueprint of their community, though, they do that. And
Hmm.
again, everything that we look at that's kind of broken within our community, when we look at communities with strength, all those components are there. We're just watching a documentary, me and Yolanda, about the Jewish, the rise of the Jewish America, right? And
Hmm.
in there they talk about it, how they're one of the oldest groups that can kind of tie back their religion, tie back ancestry land, tie back all this stuff that they claim, and then they teach it and they instill it into their children. We're
Yeah.
still trying to figure out who we are. And when we do identify or start getting the pulse on who we are, like a Kyrie, like a
Hmm.
like a Kanye, immediately we're labeled as anti-Semites. We're
Yeah.
immediately
or
attacked.
or
We're
black
immediately
identity
belittled and
extremists,
degraded. Huh?
or black identity extremists.
Right. You're an extremist. You know what I mean? And you should be watched. And in many cases, tying us into other groups and organizations that may be a little bit more revolutionary, a little bit more militant in many cases. But
And
it's
that's
not
another thing. We
necessarily a
have no
representative
discipline.
of all of us. You
But
know what I
we
mean? It
have no
doesn't necessarily
discipline.
represent all of us. Go
We
ahead. Go
have
ahead. I'm
no
sorry.
discipline within the black community. But let me tell you the 5 stages of the right to passage is the right to birth, the right to adulthood, the right to marriage, the right to eldership, and the right to ancestorship. We
Mm,
don't teach that in no black community,
no, no,
but they
no.
teach it to theirs. And see, we got to stop looking
Correct.
at we got to start looking at our black babies the way white people look at theirs. They don't look at them as children or problems or this, that, and the third. They look at them as investments because they
Hmm.
need somebody to take care of them when they get older. Versus we want ours to leave the house at 18 when we don't even have it figured out living in subsidized housing in
Mm-hmm.
Section 8. But yet we
Mm-hmm.
willing to throw our children out there and tell them to figure it out when we never figured it out ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things just doesn't make sense. They don't push their children out the door. They don't do that.
No.
The same
But
a
that's because
child
their
is still a
children are
child at
assets to
18.
them. Their
Hmm.
children are assets to them. Their children have a greater value than anything put on this earth. We just dealt with an incident just recently where we heard a mother who told the school system their child was responsible for bringing a bunch of thugs to the school with guns, and the mother basically told the school system, "Well, I'm done with him. I washed my hands of him."
Oh no, the better yet part of the conversation was he belonged to y'all during school hours, not me. And the vice principal said he wasn't in school today. She was like, oh well, I have to work.
Right. And
And
so how
that's
do we grip that? How do we grasp a hold of that and say, nah, that's not going to be the normacy. We're not going to allow you to allow your children to run amok, because the village is going to step in and the village is going to give you the wraparound support that you need. Because if that was any other community, the community would have stepped in, the rabbis would have stepped in, the religious community would have stepped in. And
But
in
at this
some
point, do we
cases,
need to build
if
a
some
militia?
enforcement needed to be put in, even the enforcement would have came in, because they got their own military. Then the Mossad and all that other stuff, they got their own thing going on in the Jewish community. They would have easily assembled
And
in,
just like you said, they have
if that was a threat to their community.
If they have
and guess
armed
what?
security guard in their
Hmm.
synagogue, you don't think they have it in their schools?
We don't we
Oh
don't
yeah.
have we don't have the community infrastructure needed to recalibrate us as a people. So guess what? Guess what? The most profound thing that we can do, the most the most revolutionary thing you can do in today's society as a black man is to raise and build up a family. That's why I stand as a 35-year-old black man married to a black woman, and my entire household has the same last name. That's how you start the trend of being a revolutionary. So now I'm planting seeds in my kids who understand that when they leave the house, it's not about your first name. It's
No.
about your last name. Because when you leave
It's about
me,
going out. It's about going
exactly.
out and
When you leave
conquering the
me,
world.
you represent that price brand. The value of our family is predicated on our last name and the energy and accomplishments that we make as a unit. So we can't. It's a new time. It's a new day.
Yeah.
We don't have that village to support us, to strengthen us on the peripheral side. So we gotta revolutionize the game. And the way
He
you
gave me
revolutionize the
goosebumps.
game,
Yeah,
He gave
yeah.
me goosebumps.
Same
yeah,
here.
He
And I'm
gave
and the
even
way you
thinking about
revolutionize the game
right.
is by creating the family model.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
guess what? I got 5 children. I got 5
Families
children,
build
right?
legacies. Families build
Exactly.
legacies.
So guess
Yeah,
what? So when
yeah,
each one of my children go out and
yeah.
start their own families, they already have the blueprint. That's how you revolutionize the game. When they said the revolution wasn't going to be televised, that's what they was talking about. Because
Jason,
I'm
didn't you
already
just say that?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
already
that
I
was
already
yeah,
got the ball rolling in my
yeah,
household.
yeah.
So now that my household is established, now as the leader, I can branch out and I can be effective on the outside of my community because if you put me under that microscope, I'm not afraid of what you're going to find
Yeah.
because I done already made sure that I was solidified. I'm gonna be the same man in my household that I'm gonna be when I'm out on the streets. So you're not going to catch me what the young people call lacking because I'm a man of integrity. You can put me in
Right.
any environment and I'm gonna be the same and I'm gonna be the same person. So now that I strengthen my core and my base, I can step outside and I can help my brother and I can help my sister do the same thing for their base. Because it's not going to be seen. It's not going to come from an infrastructure. It's not going to come from politics. It's going to come from us doing the groundwork and being on the front lines for each other. It
Mm,
doesn't take money. It doesn't take
mm,
money. It doesn't take
mm,
publicity or
mm.
stature or fame. It takes the knowledge
That's
and
it.
it takes the
That's
guts
it.
to put it in practice.
That's it.
Wait a minute, it's funny that you said that because we had our whole meeting with Kwesi and Fume's legislation team was putting families back together.
Hmm.
Families putting the black man back
Hmm.
in the household and him
Because HUD has been designed to destroy the black family. I mean, the way that it's
social
operated.
services, child
Right.
support,
Right. Right.
The
housing.
only person that can restore the black family is the black man.
That's it. That's
You,
it. That's what we
Mr.
told them.
Informe, I got all
That's
of
what we
respect
told
for
them.
that man in the world, but your policy, your efforts won't restore the black family. It takes for the black man to restore the black family. So you know what?
Correct.
That's who I target. That's who I
Right.
target. That's who I have conversation with. That's
Yeah.
who. That's who
No,
space I try to
in
invade.
Yeah.
legislation, those restrictions needs
Right.
to be lifted. If
Right.
a
In other
woman is
words, we can't
married or
have no
want to get married,
barriers. Right. We can't have no barriers for our black men. See, the
right?
Hmm.
problem is that, for instance, there are no affordable housing options. And
Hmm.
in many cases, it even separates the family even more and removes the black male out of the household because now it's income based. If I do give you an option
Hmm.
of affordable housing, it's going to be income based. And because he works a mediocre job that really doesn't
Or
make that much
because he
money
have a
or
criminal
a living
record,
wage, right?
right?
Or
He
Hmm.
have a
because he has a
criminal
criminal
record, he can't
record,
come into the
right?
house.
Correct. He has a felony, so now he can't come into the house. So now you've just destroyed the family, and you
Hmm.
destroyed it to where the man who may have wanted to step up and do the right thing by his family and protect his family. Now you made him decide whether or not do I allow my family to live with affordability and an affordable housing option, or do I go against the system and have to struggle in the process because I can't get access to services in the process because now the system sees me as a liability to the family or as you know what I mean?
And guess
Okay.
what? And guess what, bro? We've always done that. We've always found ways to circumvent the system, to circumvent
Right.
the obstacles that they put in front of us. And guess what? It just so happened that the ways that we've come up with on our own has been negative. It's been selling drugs, has been selling guns, has been doing everything under the sun. So all we have to do is put out, like Yolanda said, we're the architects of some of the most profound inventions known to man, right? That's what we come from. That's the potential we have. So if we could just tap into our intellect and tap into our inner genius and figure out how can we've already managed to circumvent the system in a negative way. How can we do the same thing in a positive way? It's
That's
going
right.
to take for us to build our own network. Like people, we need to find a handful of strong men, strong families that's already grounded, that's already rolling and got the ball in motion. And we need to start with them. We need to connect them, build a community, build an infrastructure with them, a system, and then the ones that's trying to recover can lean on them and can be supported by them. But
Correct.
again, it's going to take that sacrifice. It's going to take that understanding of it might not be what I want to do, but this is what I have to do so that our race can survive. Because if
But
not,
Survive.
but
it,
Yeah.
the problem becomes like, is people willing to take a back seat to say that it wasn't them? Because
I am.
everybody wants to be that person. The person
I
that you're
am.
Right.
describing,
Everybody wants their
everybody
name
wants to
on
be
the
that.
top of the letterhead. Everybody wants to
Exactly.
be the one
Everybody
receiving
wants to
the
be the
merits
face.
and the
That's why rappers
awards.
can't make it out of the
Right.
city,
Right.
because everybody wants to be the first person. Everybody wants to be the one to put Baltimore on. Everybody wants to be the one with the
Right.
spark mind.
Then why
Everybody
can't we
wants to be
come
the one.
together and put Baltimore on ourselves? And I've been in the rap game for a while. So everybody that knows me in the community knows that I've recorded people like 100 Grand,
Mhm.
Frontline, Stars, Superstars, Cocaine Cows. I mean, there's been so many different people that I've been involved in the underground. Steph, known as Spielberg, everybody knows him for making beats in Baltimore City. Like these are family members of mine. So like I've been
Mhm.
around this for a long time, and I actually come from New York City, where I actually had that start where hip hop was pioneering at. So I've been around this for a while, and this is something that I
We can
talk
tell by
about
the color of your
every
beard.
time. Well, I've talked about this every time to dudes that I work with all the time, man. Like, stop looking for that deal. Stop looking to do something or even get on somebody's independent label. Let's start breaking and doing something of our own.
Jason, we
Putting
got
our
1
money
minute.
together and do our own thing, because we're
Mhm.
greater when we come together collectively.
Absolutely.
Go ahead
We
and
need to
give your
continue.
yeah, we need
We
to
need to
continue
continue
this.
this conversation. Our time
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
actually up.
Can you go ahead and give out your Instagram real quick so the family can follow you real quick?
My Instagram is Sean SEAN _no _maniac MANIAC.
We appreciate you, my brother. And we got to have you on again. Like I
Man, I
said, we got
love
to do
you,
this
man.
definitely
Y'all send an
again.
invite, I'm there.
Got you. Again, family, let's give it up for Sean Price again. And, our hearts and our prayer go out to the whole Tyree family. We had an opportunity to speak to his sister, his wife, and some of the family members. And I could even hear his father in the background. And his father's definitely emotionally shook
In
behind
pain.
all of this and in pain. So our hearts and our prayers go out to that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't condone what happened, but that we do condone what happened. And of course, there's another party involved in this. Our hearts and prayers go out to that person as well, that they get the help and treatment that's needed, for whatever stress or traumatic stress they may be going through in relations to what happened with our dear brother. So, with that being said, until next week, family, we love y'all. Stay
God
blessed.
bless everybody. God bless.
God bless. And as I always say, go out there and do something special for someone other than yourselves. So, peace. Y'all have a good one. Good night.